Hi, baddies! Welcome back to my channel. So excited to be here. So we are going to start by removing the sticker that is at the bottom of the tumbler. I do this because there's air trapped in there and I just don't want it to compromise the integrity of the tumbler later on. And I'm just going to sand my tumbler, get it nice and roughed up so that the glue can adhere a little bit better. I am just using, I believe this is 80 grit sandpaper. I just got it at Lowe's. And I'm being really careful, making sure that I really do the rim. Okay, I'm sorry. Be serious, guys, okay? This is serious tumbler stuff. So I'm just making sure that I scuff it up really good because I really want the fabric to adhere, especially to the rim, because I want a really good seal. So I just kind of go around the whole tumbler. I do the bottom. I do everything, and then once I'm done, once I feel like I've sanded it enough and I feel like it looks good, I keep alcohol in a little spray container, and then I just spray it down, wipe it with a paper towel just to make sure I'm removing all of the residue. And then we're going to move on to the next step, which is to apply the fabric. Ooh, I can't wait for you guys to see the beautiful fabric that I'm going to be using. I got it at Joann's, and it is cotton on the backside. So I did not have any issues with it adhering. I'm applying it with Mod Podge. I'm not specifically attached to any specific kind of Mod Podge. I always buy just whatever is available at the store, and I've never had an issue. So I use these little brushes, these little paint brushes. You can get them at Michael's or Walmart. And a lot of people, when they apply fabric to tumblers, they will coat the entire tumbler in glue and then apply the fabric. I don't do mine that way. It's okay if you do. There's nothing wrong with it. We all just have different methods. I don't do it that way because I like to take my time and go slow and make sure that I'm getting the fabric straight. So I do little sections at a time so that it's easier for me to move the fabric around and maneuver it. So I do little sections at a time, and then I just take my hand and I kind of press down and go in one direction, kind of pushing out any air bubbles or pushing out just any chunks of glue or anything, just to make sure I have a really nice smooth base underneath the fabric. And then I basically just double check that the pattern that I'm using is straight before I continue to glue the whole thing down. And then I literally just go in little sections like this. I have found that doing this just gives me a better finish. I feel like I have more control of the fabric and adjusting it if like it's not straight or it's not looking good. But if you are a freaking pro, which I bet all of you guys are pros, you can just do glue on the whole tumbler and probably get done faster. I do it in little steps. But anyway, you guys, I'm so obsessed with this fabric. And honestly, I was super nervous to use this specific fabric because I was like, what if it repels the epoxy? What if, because it's not 100% cotton. So I was super nervous, but I was like, well, if you don't take risks, you're never gonna know. Okay. So I took a risk, and I'm so happy because I cannot wait for you guys to see the outcome of this tumbler. I think you guys are gonna love it. And if you guys recreate it, please tag me on Instagram, on TikTok, in my Facebook group, which I will link in the description, wherever you guys want to. But I love seeing your guys' work, especially if you're recreating something that I make. I love that. So please show me everything that you make. But anyway, guys, I really wanted this tutorial to be super detailed, especially because I know that I need really like in-depth, step-by-step instructions when I'm going to try something new. So I just really wanted to make this really easy for anyone to be able to make. I do want to tell you guys before I embarrass myself, I struggle a little bit with the seams. So if you have a better method for making that cut so that you can make the fabric line up, that's great. I struggled a little bit, so you're going to see me do a few attempts. So sorry, but I didn't want to leave that part out of the tutorial because I feel like I don't want to make you think that everything I do is easy and is perfect. And, you know, we all struggle. It doesn't matter how long you've been making tumblers. And I feel like it's important to show people that. Like, hey, guess what? You think this cup looks amazing, but girl, you didn't see the struggle while I was making it. It's not all easy. So don't be hard on yourselves, guys. So at first I tried the little roly cutty fabric thingy, which that didn't work. So then I kept trying it. I don't know why. It's because I'm stubborn. Honestly, it's my mom's fault because she's kind of stubborn too. Oh my gosh, please don't tell my mom I'm calling her stubborn on my YouTube. Oh my Lanta. Anyway, guys, so eventually what I ended up having to do was use my X-Acto knife and my fabric scissors. And that is what ended up giving me like a nice little seam that I thought looked good. So you're just going to watch me keep struggling. And honestly, I think I might stop this voiceover and just let you guys listen to a little bit of music. Or do you guys want to hear me keep talking? Oh, you guys want to hear me keep talking? Okay. So anyway, now I'm using my X-Acto knife. So moral of the story is, if you're going to make this style tumbler, just use the X-Acto knife because it was so much easier. The first time I made a fabric tumbler, the little roly thing worked, but obviously when I have thousands of people watching me, it's going to freaking embarrass me. But that's okay, guys, because I never want to pretend to be perfect or anything like that. So I will always be super transparent and honest with you guys because that's just who I am. But anyway, guys, once I finally get the seams to look the way I want them, after what seems like days and nights of working on it, I am going to show you guys how I finish off the bottom and the top. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, how are you going to get a good seal at the rim? You have to have a little bit of exposed stainless steel. Don't you worry, sister. I got you, okay? Just keep watching. Let me catch my breath, guys. Anyway, so I take my fabric scissors and I use the very rim of the cup as a guide just to cut right along the rim. Oh my gosh, take a drink every time I say the word rim. Rim, 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 rim. Okay, I blacked out. Anyway, just I use that as a guide to cut the fabric right up to the very edge of the tumbler. And then I basically just try my best to get it as close as I can. Go around as many times as you need. Okay, guys, so once you have the fabric cut as close to the rim as you can and you're happy with the way it looks, then we can move on to the next step. So what I do is I take my paintbrush with Mod Podge and I just kind of little pieces of fabric that are not completely adhered to the rim. I stick Mod Podge in there and I go all the way around the tumbler, making sure that I have a very tight seal. Because when you go to epoxy, you do not want any epoxy to get under the fabric or else the integrity of the entire tumbler, will be compromised and we don't want that. So I am just going to go around the entire tumbler. Take as much time as you need. This is a very, very important step. This is probably the most important step in the whole process of this tumbler. So just take your time, get Mod Podge in there, squeeze it all the way. I basically just use my fingers to press the fabric against the tumbler. And then once I have glue in every little area, I spend about 1 to 2, as many minutes as you need, just kind of reinforcing the fabric, pushing it as much as I can. You do not want to see any space between your tumbler and the fabric, okay? You want to get it as tight of a seal as you possibly can. And don't worry about leaving a little bit of exposed stainless steel for a good seal. I'm gonna talk to you guys about how to accomplish that later on in the video. Right now, the only important thing is making sure that our top rim is super, super sealed. So once you do that, you can move down to the bottom. And basically what I do is I take my fabric scissors and I make tons of little slits all the way around the tumbler. And I do this so that I can grab the fabric and then pull it as tight as I can to fold it down to the bottom. I know a lot of people cut the fabric at the top and at the bottom, but I just love how it looks having fabric all the way from top to bottom of the cup. So that's why I do it this way. But if you want to replicate this tumbler and cut the bottom off and expose some stainless steel, you can absolutely do this. Just remember, this is just my way of doing it, guys, but you can definitely use this as inspiration, and then make it your own. But basically, I go one strip at a time, and I just make sure that I put a good amount of Mod Podge. And then the cool thing about fabric is that you can really pull it nice and tight, and it's not gonna rip. I love that, because sometimes when you're working with vinyl or scrapbook paper, it's so nerve-wracking because you're like, it's gonna rip, but it's not, luckily. I think that's one of the reasons why I have absolutely fallen in love with fabric. I think it is really easy to work with. Guys, take as much time as you need doing this part. This is also a super important part because you don't want the epoxy to get under any of this fabric. You want to make sure you have a really good seal at the top and at the bottom. And so basically I just use as much force as I can with my finger when I pull in that fabric. And I love that it doesn't rip. I know I already said that, but I just have to say it again, you guys, because I absolutely love that the fabric does not tear. So feel free to pull on it as tight as you need to so that you can get those really nice clean edges. Also, guys, I learned this the hard way, but that's okay because my mistakes help me teach you guys, okay? The smaller you make the slits, the more of a clean edge you're going to have. If you make the slits a little bit big, you're going to have those little pointy corners in the fabric at the bottom. And those are really hard to cover with epoxy. I swear it's almost worse than chunky glitter. So you just want to make sure that you make the small little slits. It's a little bit of extra work, but in the end, it's totally worth it. So I basically kind of just mess with this until I know that the fabric is completely adhered, that no pieces are going to lift, that there's no gaps in between the stainless steel and the fabric. Because like I said, we don't want any epoxy to get in there. And there you have it, guys. This is what it looks like when you completely wrap a tumbler in fabric. Now, don't worry about the top. I promise we're going to get to that part, you guys. So I'm sure a lot of you already know that you seal the fabric with Mod Podge, but for those of you that are maybe beginners or you're just starting out, you've never done a fabric tumbler, you want to make sure that you do 2 to 3. I know a lot of people even do 4 coats of Mod Podge over their fabric just to get a really nice seal for the epoxy. I usually do 3 coats, and I haven't had an issue so far, but if you just want to be safe and do 4 coats, that is completely okay. You are the artist, you are the creator, and you're in charge. So basically, I just make sure that I do really nice and thin coats so that they dry fast. And then I can move on to the next layer of Mod Podge. So I do recommend waiting overnight before you epoxy your tumbler because obviously the fabric gets wet when you adhere it with Mod Podge and it doesn't, and then you put more Mod Podge over it. So even though it might feel dry to the touch, the bottom, so basically the cotton part of the fabric that's adhered to the stainless steel, that will still be a little bit wet, and you just don't want your epoxy to repel. So usually what I do is when I make my fabric tumblers, I make like a couple at a time, I seal them, and then I set them on my drying rack, and then I epoxy them all the next day. So I would just recommend just waiting just to be safe, because you don't want to work hard and put all this work into your tumbler and then you have some sort of issue with the epoxy. Anyway, guys, so I'm not going to torture you and keep talking your ear off. I'm going to speed this video a little bit up and play you some nice little music, and you guys can enjoy. But yes, just remember 2 to 3 coats. If you feel safer doing 4 coats, that's okay. Just make sure you're doing very thin coats because you want to make sure that you don't have any like lines when your glue dries or any sort of imperfections. So the thinner the layer, the better, and you can do as many as you feel comfortable with. I hope you guys are enjoying this tutorial. look like after it's fully dry. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what it looks like under epoxy. Super shiny, super smooth. Oh my gosh, you guys, epoxy is so freaking amazing. I cannot, like, and I love fabric tumblers because it takes less coats to cover it completely. So right here, this is what my tumbler looks like after 2 coats of epoxy. I wanted to make sure I had really good coverage before I went in and sanded it. I'm using 2 sanding blocks, a 60 grit and 120 grit. I got these on Amazon. Make sure you guys use some sort of protective mask and goggles for your eyes. You don't want this epoxy dust getting in your eyeballs or your lungs. It's not good for you. I'm currently using a mask that covers my whole face, so my eyes are protected, my nose is protected, my mouth. So I'm going to go in with the 60 grit sand block and just kind of smooth out those edges at the bottom. Sand as much or as little as you need. I'm not too worried about getting it perfect on this first sanding, just because we're still going to add a decal and we're going to probably do 2 coats of epoxy over the decal. So we're still going to have more epoxy covering all of these imperfections. So it's going to be okay. So basically I just went around the bottom with my 60 grit, and then I am also going to do the top rim. And this is where I am going to show you guys how we are going to expose that little bit of stainless steel at the very top so that the epoxy can adhere to the stainless steel and create that really nice seal. So that your tumbler is not compromised. You're gonna ensure that it's gonna last for a long time. So what you're gonna want to do, take that same 60 grit sanding block, and that is what we're going to use to expose a little bit of stainless steel. How you're going to accomplish this is by holding your sanding block at an angle. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. You want to hold it down like this and tilt your cup a little bit. And sanding this way, what this is going to do is this is going to expose that little bit of stainless steel all the way around the rim. And this is exactly what we need, because whenever we put another layer of epoxy, we want that epoxy to grab onto that top little piece of stainless steel and create a super, super, super good seal over the fabric. And that just make sure that you're going to have a very long lasting tumbler. You're not going to have any moisture getting in there. You just want that really good seal for a long lasting cup. It's really hard to show you guys on camera, but basically you want to sand until you see that straight line of stainless steel at the very top, and you want to sand all the way around until you have exposed enough. Right here, I still need to sand more. I'm not happy with that. That's not enough exposed stainless steel. So just kind of go around the rim as much as you need. Make sure you have a really even line all the way around, because you want to make sure that your tumbler is sealed really good. I know I've already said that a million times, you guys, and I'm so sorry, but it's just super, super important that you expose that little strip of stainless steel, because that's what's going to give you a long-lasting tumbler. Anyway, I'm sounding very redundant. I'm sorry. Are you guys tired of hearing me talk yet? Because I feel like I'm losing my voice. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and speed this up because I feel like I've already explained it really good, so you guys know what it is that you need to look for. So just keep sanding until you expose enough stainless steel all the way around, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, my loves, for this next part, you're going to need a bucket and a mop. I'm just kidding. You're going to need a bucket of water, spray paint of your choice, whatever color you want, and the Power Wash Dawn Dish spray soap. We're going to need all of these things for the next clip. And basically, I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm going to do. I am going to take the soap and I'm going to spray it on the tumbler all over. And the more soap that you spray on the tumbler, the more of that fabric that's going to show underneath once you get that spray paint on there. So that's why I sprayed a pretty generous amount, because I don't want to cover this pretty fabric. And then I'm going to use my black spray paint and just kind of spray paint over the entire tumbler. You want to spray, and also sorry that I'm out of frame, you guys. This was really hard to do on camera because I was outside and the sun was in my eyes. And also, how embarrassing are my socks? They are breakfast socks. They have toast, eggs, and bacon on them. Guys, this is just who I am. I'm not even gonna hide it anymore. But anyway, guys, once you fully spray paint it all over your tumbler, you just want to slowly dip it into the water, and that's going to remove that excess spray paint that went over the soap, and it's going to reveal this really cool power wash effect. I am obsessed. This is exactly the look that I was going for, but you guys can spray as much soap or as little soap as you need to get this look, and you can use whatever colors you want. Okay guys, so I have applied a layer of epoxy over my power wash. I've got a smooth surface. Now I'm gonna apply my decal. I am putting Hello Beautiful because this year I'm trying to have a lot more self-love. I feel like we're so hard on ourselves, and I think that we just have to learn to be a little bit kinder to ourselves because we're doing the best that we can, you guys. And I feel like sometimes we set really high expectations for ourselves, and I just really want to be nicer to myself this year. So this is the quote that I chose. I hope that you guys like it. Right now, I'm just trying to place it right in the center. Excuse me, guys. Recording all these voiceovers has made me lose my voice. I think that I'm going to crack up when I rewatch this and I'm like, wow, my voice went down a lot. But anyway, I'm just pushing this down as much as I can, making sure it's really adhered to the tumbler. Guys, I am freaking obsessed. I am so going to keep this for myself. I love it so much. I think it's so freaking beautiful. And that fabric is to die for. I'm going to keep that little piece of transfer tape and use it again for another project because saving money on materials gives me more money for tacos. Anyway, you guys, we are going to seal this with epoxy and hopefully we'll be done. Here's what it looks like under a coat of epoxy. Oh my gosh, you guys, I am so stinking obsessed. I will be back to show you guys how I finish off my tumblers. Okay, wow, I'm back. That was fast. I hate myself, guys. I don't know why I'm like this. Anyway, guys, so this is exactly how I clean up my tumblers whenever I am done with one. So I take an X-Acto knife and I kind of just go all the way around the rim. I hold the X-Acto knife at an angle, pushing the little pointy part inside the cup. This is just so that I don't cut one of my fingers off because I am so clumsy. And it just helps me get any extra epoxy that is left on the tumbler. And then I take my sanding block. Do not do it at an angle because you don't want to scratch any of the epoxy because you are done. This is not going to have any more layers of epoxy. So I just hold it straight over the rim just to make sure I'm removing any, spray paint, epoxy, any sort of little imperfections that are on the rim. You want to make sure you have a really nice clean rim for your customers or yourself or whoever you're giving your tumbler to. And then once I feel like I've removed all the gunk off the rim, I take, I believe this is 99% acetone, and a paper towel, and I just dampen a little bit of the paper towel with the acetone and I clean the inside. You want to be really careful to make sure that you don't accidentally get any of that acetone on the outside of the tumbler. You don't want to get that on the epoxy. You don't want to compromise that shine and gloss that you've accomplished. I'm always really careful when I'm doing this, but wow, look how easily that removed all that black spray paint that was left inside the tumbler. Like, it just comes off so easily, guys. And I think that finishing off the cup and cleaning the rim is so important because you want to provide a quality product and you don't want someone to have like any sort of spray paint in their drink or anything like that. God forbid. So I just always take a second clean paper towel and I go around one more time, make sure that there's no residue in there. And then I wash my tumbler with soap and water. I dry it off, put the lid in the straw, and I photograph it, and she's ready to go to my cabinet because she's mine, you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching. Please share, please like and subscribe.